Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Jedi Eternal. I am one of your hosts, Andrew Bullen, alongside the burrito-guzzling man himself, Braxton Taylor.
The burrito baddie.
My man ordered Taco Bell just a little bit ago, and not only did he order one burrito, he ordered two burritos. And man, he's just chugging those babies down like a fool.
The burrito obliterator.
That's what he goes by around here.
That's what they called me in high school.
Yeah, if you had had friends, maybe. But...
the people who call me the burrito obliterator, that's good friends I have.
But welcome back. For those of you who don't know, but most of you probably do, we just had our 2-year celebration, and we had some exciting things that happened. But we want to say thank you to those that did hang out with us during our live celebration. Had a great time, had some fun, and also had some big announcements.
Yes.
And so first thing we want to do today is thank our Patreon producers. This is our patrons who have decided to...
So first of all, that was the announcement. We made a Patreon. So anyway.
Yes. Well, I was going into
okay.
that. I was going to say, you messed up my...
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I forgive you.
Thank you.
You know, these are who give us $5 a month to our new Patreon.
Yes.
That they get instant access to our episodes as we upload them, our Jedi Eternal episodes, but also they get exclusive access to a brand new podcast or series by you and me called And Other Stuff.
Yes.
And it is it's going to be a lot of fun. You guys are going to really control what happens in that. It's going to be awesome. You guys can check it out on our Facebook. I'll also post a link to it in the podcast episode itself. But let's just go ahead and name off our patron producers.
Yes, let's do that.
And so here are our producers for this month. We want to give a big shout out to Corey Wise, Alex Mason, Grace and David Gill, my beautiful wife, Tara Bolin.
Very nice.
And JB himself, Mr. Joshin Birkinshaw. Those are our Patreon producers as of right now for this month. If you want to join, go to our Patreon for $5. You can join our list of Patreon producers, and it would mean the world to us.
It would. And also, obviously, if those delightful, delectable little tidbits were not enough for you to get the episodes early, and that you get to be producers of the show, and that you get to have sole access to a Patreon exclusive new show, we're also going to be growing. So just know that we're going to be expanding. And as the producers, we're going to be coming to our producers and saying, hey, how do you want us to grow? What do you think would be best? And with that, we're going to grow the Patreon and different things like that.
Right. As a producer, Jedi Eternal, you will have a big hand in where this podcast and this entity as a whole, where it will go next.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Go ahead and join. But let's jump into our news for this week. And we have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about today.
Oh, yeah.
Our main piece for this week will, of course, be discussing the new episode of the Book of Boba Fett.
Ooh, yeah.
As our main topic. That'll be towards the end of this episode. But trust me, you want to stick around and hear our thoughts on this because it's a big one. And we have a lot to say about this episode.
Oh, yeah.
So stick around. But let's jump into our news.
Let's do it.
Our first news story for today is Lucasfilm rethinks its non-Star Wars slate. So here is basically what was going down. We know that Lucasfilm had decided to kind of branch out, so to speak, and to get away from being known as only the Star Wars people, and maybe Indiana Jones people, right? They wanted to start doing some new things. One of those things that they announced, and they announced this when they announced that huge slate of Star Wars upcoming Disney Plus shows and movie, they announced that they were going to be doing Children of Blood and Bone, which is a popular young adult series of books. They were going to do this. They already had a director attached, and I think it was actually going to be Rick Famuyiwa, or however you say his last name, from The Mandalorian. So they had all this stuff. But anyways, the project stalled. And now sources are basically saying that with they've kind of turned their focus to the rapidly expanding Star Wars Disney Plus series that they're doing, and that's just kind of getting bigger and bigger. And so now basically it's looking like that's probably not going to remain with Lucasfilm.
Yeah. So for people and fans of Children of Blood and Bone, whatever that is, because I'm not familiar with it, sorry, I'm sure you're probably a little disappointed. But it makes sense. I mean, Lucasfilm, they became popular and became what they are because of Star Wars. And now, especially with the resurgence of all of the, especially the TV shows, it's one of those things where, like, hey, at the end of the day, they're just like, they're a business, if nothing else. And clearly they was wanting to move away from Star Wars because they didn't feel like they were maybe making the money or whatever that they thought they should be. But now that they're seeing the dollar signs back on Star Wars, they're like, okay, let's move back into it. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it kind of makes sense. But I don't know. It is what it is. So.
Yeah, and basically they're saying we're going to focus on what we already know and have been known to be good at. So they're saying we're going to stick to Star Wars. We're sticking to Indiana Jones. We know there's going to be another Indiana Jones, and also Willow, and that which has been.
Yes.
So those are kind of the things that they know, and they're sticking to it at this point. So
yeah. All right, so let's move on to our next news piece, and that is Mary Elizabeth Winstead joins the cast of Star Wars Ahsoka. So in case you're not familiar with little old Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she's been in such movies, some cinematic masterpieces such as the 2005 Sky High, but also Gemini Man in 2019, 10 Cloverfield Lane,
excellent movie.
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and she's in a new upcoming movie called Kate. But in a lot of stuff, there's even way more movies. Die Hard, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. Some of those classics. So
she was also in Birds of Prey.
Yeah, Birds of Prey. So I mean, I'm missing tons of them. But point is that she is in a lot of stuff, and she's a good actress. So apparently she is joining the cast of the Ahsoka series that is upcoming. So Drew, do we have more on that?
Not really. I mean, that's basically covers it, right? But she is a well-known, good actress.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have anything to worry about there. What I do now, as far as like speculation goes, is it Rey's mom? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Is it Evil Clone Yoda's originator? I don't know.
No, I think I am like 99% positive this is just going to be a brand new character that they're going to introduce into Star Wars. I don't think there's any kind of like crazy canon connections here necessarily.
Yeah.
My guess would be this is a brand new character, but a good actress to incorporate into the Star Wars universe. So yeah, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really all there is to say about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so let's go to our next news story. And this is a big one, especially for you gamers out there. 3 new Star Wars games have officially been announced by EA. The first one is not necessarily a surprise to us, as we have been talking about this for a long time and pretty much already knew it existed.
Right.
But this was the first time it's officially been announced, and that is Jedi Fallen Order 2, or a sequel to that series. It may not be called that necessarily, but we know they're working on a sequel.
Yeah.
And this comes from this came straight from a recent blog post from Electronic Arts, or EA. And they said, Respawn is doing... Respawn is doing all 3 of these games, and that's also important to note here.
Yeah.
Respawn did such a big hit with Jedi Fallen Order that they've decided for Respawn to just do,
you're gonna do it
all of them.
Yeah.
So we have a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. They're also doing a new first-person shooter, so that's important to note here, and a strategy game.
Interesting.
So, I'm not going to say a whole lot about the Jedi Fallen Order sequel. We talked and speculated about that many times.
Yeah.
again, I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see if it's a sequel to the first game, like truly a sequel, or if it's just only a sequel in the series, not necessarily to the story.
Yeah, exactly.
But no matter what it is, like I have high faith in it. Like I think it's going to be good, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, and we also know, it's kind of ironic. So let's just say this. Okay. So, with the sequel to Fallen Order, we already know what that's going to be like. So, okay, you're thinking strategy game and you're thinking FPS, first-person shooter, right? So, a first-person shooter, let's look at their qualifications. They made Titanfall 1, Titanfall 2. They made Apex Legends, which is, again, also they made Medal of Honor Above and Beyond. So, I mean, we can go on and on. I mean, they have some pretty solid titles under their belt in terms of a first-person shooter. So I mean, I don't think they have any issues with that. Furthermore, their list for strategy games is not as extensive, but they did make a spin-off in 2017 called Titanfall Assault for Android and iOS, which was actually a real-time strategy, kind of over-the-head strategy game based off of the Titanfall. So they have experience in all three of these things.
Yeah, and it's important to note that this this strategy game is being created through Respawn through a new studio within Respawn called Bit Reactor. And why that is important to note is that it is made up of veterans from Firaxis Games. Now, Firaxis Games is the developers of XCOM and Civilization.
Oh, so that's
two very,
massive.
very big, popular strategy games.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's in very good hands to create a Star Wars strategy game. And as we know, and as we've seen, there are strategy games of Star Wars throughout the years.
Right.
And really, it's a perfect series to do those types of war strategy games, right? It really is a great opportunity there to have those. And so I would love to see a new one. I might even dabble in it a little bit, even though it's not really my thing. I'm sure I would probably play a little bit of it, especially if it comes to console.
Yeah.
And as far as the first person shooter goes, what do you think that is? Do you think this will be a story focused game, or do you think this will be a the new answer to the PvP world of Star Wars? Because we had Battlefront.
Yeah.
We know that DICE is not working on a Battlefront. It's shelved.
They've been diced.
Yeah. Basically, Battlefront is not going to be around for a while. Okay?
Yeah.
So we have this new first person shooter game. We have from the developers of games such as Apex Legends and Titanfall, two very well-known and liked first-person shooter games.
In fact, even with Apex Legends, it's solely PvP, solely Battle Royale.
Yeah.
With Titanfall, they have multiplayer and story, but Apex is even just, that.
So with this Star Wars game, and maybe it's kind of like Titanfall where it's both, and honestly, that's what I'm hoping for personally, is that we're getting kind of something like that, maybe in the kind of like Call of Duties or even really Battlefront did it too. Yeah. But it's just, they had some hiccups, but but I don't think it will be. My guess would be maybe it's a little smaller scale. PvP. Yeah. Star Wars PvP games have always been very large scale in a lot of ways, and maybe this will be a smaller scale, more akin to maybe even Call of Duty maps or something where you're. I think I could get into something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we haven't really seen, so it would be something kind of fresh and new to really dive into and experience for the first time.
Yeah, maybe it's like a 4v4 or 6v6.
Yeah. Well, we do have hero versus villain in Battlefront, so that could be similar to that to some degree, except I don't know, maybe something different. I don't know what I'm saying. So we have some, I guess, there's some experience. I guess
there's some things out there, but I'm just saying this could be. I'm just wondering, how do you make it feel different than Battlefront, right? Because you assume they're going to want this to be completely different than what we've gotten from Battlefront. Battlefront focused on those large scale battles.
Yeah.
So
well, and just following Respawn's reputation in game category, we see that they do heavily focus on larger scale battles.
That is true,
right? So
it is true.
So it very well could follow that, but then again, I this is completely just a rumor. I just kind of remember this earlier, or like as we was talking about this, but I remember someone saying that they thought that it was going to be like a new like Republic Commandos, like either remake or a new one or something like that.
I would love a new Republic Commando.
Yeah.
I would love if they made a canon version of the Kyle Katarn story.
Oh yeah.
Starting with Dark Forces,
Yeah.
going through that, and then it goes into Jedi Outcasts, then Jedi Academy. All those were such a great
Amazing,
series, right? And
phenomenal games,
now, if we went back, they're probably not as good. But
Kinda goofy now.
but at the time though, I loved those, and I loved this story of Kyle Katarn, who was just a soldier, right? But then he ends up becoming a Jedi, and all that's just really cool.
Yeah.
And so I would be all for that. But
yeah, I would too. But at the end of the day, for me, you both, and for everybody listening, we don't know. We have no clue. There's not really any hints out there, so at this point, we just gotta wait and see what comes.
But you, me, and Boba, we don't know.
Exactly, we don't know.
I thought you were gonna say Boba when you said, but you said both.
I was trying to say both, but anyway, it kind of came out that way. Me, you, Boba, Mando, and everybody else, right? Anyway, so like I said, at the end of the day, regardless of what we get, I'm excited to see some new projects. Respawn has done a lot of good stuff, so looking forward to it.
All right, kind of sticking to that same format. Oh wait, this is supposed to be yours. Sorry.
Wow, trying to take the limelight. You're just so selfish.
It's funny because you even took that breath, to start, and then I stood. You were so sweet though. You weren't even going to say anything.
I was going to let you do it. This is your show today, so no. So anyway, long story short, we're on that same breath, we're talking about video games. For many of you who probably know, Star Wars: The Old Republic is has been an ongoing MMORPG in relativity to Star Wars. And it is a non-canon game right now. So this is not canon, especially after Disney took over, but it is still an active game. And with that said, there has been a new expansion to that MMORPG called Legacy of the Sith. And that expansion not only gets a new story trailer that you can view online right now, but it does get a specific release date of February 15th. So... Drew, now if you want to say anything, go ahead.
Man, I have this love-hate relationship with the Old Republic because I think they've really done some really great stuff with it. It is evolved far past what it originally began as, and it's got some really great Star Wars content, some really great story content for those of you who want to role play that Star Wars, be whoever you want to be type scenario.
Sure.
The issue is it's completely for PC players only,
right.
And
very limited to people who would want to play it.
Yeah. It is. I mean, when I say that there's no streaming capability, there's no. I mean, you have to have a gaming PC if you want to play this,
right? And yeah, exactly. And that's a great point. It's not even just that you have a PC; you have to have one capable of running because it's a decently hefty game for what it is.
Yeah. And so that's always been the struggle for me. To play this game because when it first came out, I didn't have something that could play it. Right. Then finally I did, but even when I did have a laptop that could play it, it never could play it really good.
Like you wanted it to.
And the thing was I was never willing to spend the money on a gaming PC that can actually play this game decently.
Right.
So again, I'm at a point where I can't really play it. I have a nice Mac, but it doesn't play on Macs. It only plays on Windows. Yeah. So I've always hated that about this game. And I see all of these. I'm getting on a rant, but it's okay. I'm going to do it anyways. I see all of these MMOs that they have created to be accessible on consoles now.
Sure.
Or some have even came over to Mac, and some have even came now to your smartphones.
Like RuneScape.
Yeah, like RuneScape.
Yeah.
And RuneScape looks a lot better than it used to.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's not like it's because it's, you know what I mean? Like
super
it's
old.
Yeah. But here we have the Old Republic, which I think it's a phenomenal game. I think it does a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so inaccessible.
Right. It's just
for
super
a
limited
large
everyone.
majority of Star Wars fans.
Exactly.
And it really upsets me because of that. Like, let's and as far as I know, they have no plans to change that.
Well,
I've never seen any kind of like, well, what we're looking into. No, I've not seen that at all.
I think the majority reason, my opinion, is because it's non-canon, right? They're releasing new stuff, but the fact that it's not in canonical Old Republic, whatever, they're probably hesitant to bring it to a larger force just because of that reason.
And maybe that is the case.
That's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Part of me has always been shocked that they've continued to allow them to support it.
I know.
That it continues to get new expansions. I mean, here we are over 10 years later, and it's getting another expansion.
Yeah.
Which is pretty phenomenal when you think about it.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's like, all these other MMOs now have console versions. Let's get a console version.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's because of some kind of engine limitation or something, but surely there's a way around it. Everyone else has figured it out.
You would imagine, yeah.
I mean, I can go boot up my Xbox right now and play the DC Universe online.
Exactly. Yeah.
And or Elder Scrolls Online.
Elder Scrolls Online is a great example.
All these that started out as PC only, I believe.
Yeah.
And so, again, I just would really, well, actually, I don't know. Elder Scrolls may have. I can't remember.
I don't remember either.
But anyways, you get what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
And so, yes, Legacy of the Sith will be coming out. Again, I'm sure it will be great. For those of you who have a nice gaming PC that can play this, good for you. But for me, I'll be sitting it out.
Good for you.
I will be sitting it out once again, and maybe one day I can.
I will be infinitely sitting out because I've never played the game yet. Because I've never had a PC or computer that could run it.
I can tell you, you would like it.
I'm sure I would. I'd deep dive into that kind of stuff.
You would get sucked in big time.
I'm sure.
And it would be so cool to play that game together.
It would.
I mean, think how cool that would be.
That would be really cool.
And think of the live streams we could do and stuff doing that. But again, EA, you're really disappointing us. So
exactly.
Not the first time. Probably won't be the last time.
Most likely will not be the last time.
So anyway, rant over.
Soapbox put up.
Okay. For those of you who did not care about that at all, I apologize. But let's move on to our rumors. We just have only 2 rumors for you today. Not a whole lot going on in the rumor mill, but this might be exciting for some of you, and that is that according to a listing on the French Amazon website, there appears to be new Blu-ray collections for all 3 of the Star Wars trilogies. So I actually can see the cases on there. You can see those, and they look pretty cool. These will be the 4K releases as well, which I don't know that we've gotten them in separate trilogies that you can buy in 4K yet until now,
not that I'm aware
or
of.
until whenever this releases. Because I think you can only buy the whole saga in 4K as of right now.
Yeah.
Or individually, maybe you can probably get the sequel trilogy, but I don't know if you can even get any of the other ones individually 4K.
Yeah.
But this will be a way to get just certain trilogies. So for like most of you, you can just get the first and second one and leave the third one unpurchased. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, we're so unbiased. We are so unbiased.
Oh, yeah, I went there.
Oh, he did it.
Shots fired. Nah, I mean, I'm just in a mood. I am in a mood.
You're in a ranting mood.
It's that Taco Bell.
You had some Taco Bell.
That Taco Bell just
tore us up.
It's just stirring up my insides, causing rage.
A tumultuous wave, storm, riding the storm, baby.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
okay.
All right, so let's move on. All right, so our last and final rumor for the week is that Bryce Dallas Howard is said to direct episodes in The Mandalorian Season 3. And personally, I don't think this should even be a rumor, but we just don't have an official confirmation. That's why we put it here. But Bryce Dallas Howard has directed episodes in Chapter 1. Good grief. Do they call it chapters? I don't remember. Anyway, season 1, she directed episodes in season 2.
Yeah, it calls it chapters.
Yeah, anyway. And she directed it in season 1, season 2, and now she just directed a basically, well, she just, so anyway, I'm not even going to go there. So she's directed a lot of stuff for Mandalorian. And point is that this rumor, I mean, I other than someone official saying that this is true, I don't see how this is not true. She's done a very good job with what she's done, and she's done it in season 1 and season 2. Anyway,
yeah, basically, sources have been saying that she's returning for the Mandalorian season 3. Again, like you're saying, not a surprise by any means.
Yeah.
Because she's been in the others, it only makes sense. Her episodes have always been well received.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course she's probably going to come back, and yeah, I think that's great. I mean,
yeah.
She likes dinosaurs, and
Yeah. I don't remember what. So I remember vividly the first episode she did, which was in season 1, which was basically it was like
totally influenced by her Jurassic Park
her Jurassic Park fodder.
Yeah.
Anyway, so. But yeah, because like the first episode she did was basically it was a good episode, but it was like kind of so based off of like an ATST being like a T-Rex. Anyway, but then I don't remember what she did in season 2. To be honest with you,
in season 2, she did the episode where they meet with Bo-Katan.
Oh, so yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, I don't remember too many dinosaurs.
Right, that's only like when there was like the boat. They're on the boat and stuff, I think. And
oh yeah, okay.
I think so. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen the second season.
Yeah, same here. So anyway, long story short, she's done a good job. I have no doubts that that we're gonna see more from her. So, but because it is not officially announced, we want to put it in rumors. So
right. Okay, so that is all we have in our rumors. We are going to now jump into releases for this coming week, and we have some really good ones here. First of all, we have The High Republic Midnight Horizon by Daniel Jose Older. That's the young adult novel for Wave 3 of Phase 1. And so expect some big stuff to happen in this novel. This is going to, it's definitely going to have a lot of Reese Silas in it, which if you guys have been following the young adult novels, Reese Silas has been a big character in both that we've already received. And so he is going to continue to be one of the main characters in this third novel, which will wrap up the young adult phase of Phase 1, I guess you could say. However you want to say it. Then we're also getting the children's book for Wave 3, which is the High Republic, The Battle for Starlight. Then we're getting on Wednesday, February 2nd, we're getting Crimson Reign issue number 2. Again, this is focusing on Kira's return into the Star Wars universe. She is over the Crimson Dawn, and now that she's kind of made her big public appearance, Crimson Reign is kind of dealing with that and what that means for Star Wars universe. So issue number 2 of that will be released February 2nd. Also, we're getting a series. I don't know how to say this. It's the new ship that is coming to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. The Halcyon. I don't know. We never know how to say things on here on Jedi Eternal.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway, the Halcyon Legacy is the they're doing I guess they're going to do like a mini series about this ship, and they're going to tell different stories that took place on the ship. That is also going to you're going to be able to go stay at.
That's cool.
So anyways, there's that. And then also that same day is the High Republic issue number 14. Some really important stuff going on there as we're wrapping up Wave 3 in the comics. And then we get everyone's favorite Star Wars Adventures issue number 14 that day as well. So a big day for Star Wars comics, a big week in general for Star Wars releases, getting a novel and 5 comics.
Yeah.
And also, of course, getting another episode of the Book of Boba Fett, which is the penultimate episode.
Yes, it is.
So
It is.
things are wrapping up.
Yes, it is. All right, so normally we'd move into our community discussion section where we ask each and every one of you one question a week, and we would love to discuss your answers, but I made a boo-boo and failed this week.
Dropped the ball.
And I have been super busy, and I genuinely forgot to post a question.
Yep.
How professional is this podcast,
He
folks?
forgot all about you guys.
Yeah, I did. I only love myself, apparently. So, because, if nobody else is going to do it, might as well be me. So, but anyway, my apologies, folks, but we will get a question out next week when we have our new episode. So I apologize, but we're going to go ahead and get into our main topic for this week, and that is the review of Book of Boba Fett Chapter 5. And I can't even tell you the name of the episode right now because even the name of the episode is a spoiler. So,
Yeah, let's just give the warning and go into it.
Yeah, because we reserved ourselves on the live stream for obvious reasons, but with our podcast we can just dive into it.
Yeah. We're not doing the whole spoiler free stuff here. We're just going straight into them. So here's your warning now if you don't want to listen.
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
Spoiler alert.
Okay. So
much to talk about. So much
to talk about.
First and foremost, Chapter 5, The Return of the Mandalorian. This is the title of the episode.
And as that pops up, you get the mashing of both the Mandalorian theme and the Book of Boba Fett theme together, which
glorious.
is just so good.
Glorious.
It works so good. Amazing. I loved it.
It was amazing.
I love this episode so much.
Yeah, same here.
And I'm gonna go into why that's awesome and why that's also bad.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to collect my thoughts. I don't want to go all over the place.
Yeah.
I think we should start from the beginning on this one.
Sure.
And kind of talk through the episode.
Yeah.
I know we haven't necessarily been doing that, but there's a lot.
There's so much to unpack.
There's a lot to unpack, and I think it would make sense to do it in kind of an orderly fashion here.
Yeah.
And then when we get through that, we can just go crazy with anything else we want to discuss.
Yeah.
So
one of the first things is part of the first part of the episode, but one thing that was just so cool to me is that Mando, he's Mando, right? He's just back on his basic bounty hunter lifestyle, #bounty hunter lifestyle. And he's just back in action. He's got Grogu with Luke. He's helped out Boba and got him where he needs to be. He's just going back to being a bounty hunter now. That's all he ever wanted. But what's awesome is that he's going for his bounty, and this dude is tacked out. He's got his full Beskar armor. He's got his jetpack. He's got the Beskar spear. And then, well, we'll get into that in just a quick second, but what makes this scene so memorable is that he's about to collect his bounty, and they're trying to attack him. The dude breaks out the Darksaber.
Yeah, he does.
He's just on a casual bounty hunter run, and he's fighting people with the Darksaber. That was glorious.
And I love when the very first moment you see him, it kind of not foreshadows, but it's very reminiscent of our very first episode with the Mandalorian from season 1 when he walks through. It kind of has that same feel to it.
Yeah.
And even when he goes to him and he says, "I can either bring you in warm or bring you in cold." And that's what he says.
Exactly.
So I liked how they're kind of doing callbacks to that. But the first thing I want to say, and he brings out the Darksaber, which was awesome. It was one of the first moments in the series so far.
Mm-hmm.
That I yelled, right? I was like, yes, when he brings it out and he just goes to town on these guys.
Oh,
and
man,
then the last one, he just
drops him in half.
Right in half.
I literally, I was
table and all.
I was gonna say I was in my living room by myself, and I literally said, "My dude did not have to do that. He did not have to do that.
He went hard,
chops him in half,
Yeah.
and takes out the table, and then cuts the dude's head off for the bounty."
And I also love that he wasn't super. You can tell he's not used to the Darksaber yet.
Yeah, he wasn't very fluid with it.
And we'll get into that even more later. But here you notice he's not super fluid with it. When he pulls it out, actually, he even drags it across the ground, right? Like he can't even hardly pick it up. He just drags it across the ground and wings it over to the guy.
And one of the biggest things about it is he ultimately injures his own leg.
Yeah, and then he ends up injuring his own leg.
Which just goes to show, it's so cool, because that was one thing big with me, is that if he was going to continue to use this, I never really said it, but it was kind of those subconscious thoughts. I'm like, I just really hope he's not just a beast with this thing. Like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? He's never had that kind of training. He's never had that experience.
Well, yeah.
He's not a Jedi, you know?
Right, and that's what's interesting because everything else we see him with, he's amazing with, right? But yeah, this Darksaber's a whole different
Whole
animal.
different beast.
And
yeah.
but something to note, and again, we're going to talk a little bit more about this later later in the episode. But something that immediately I thought of is think about how easily Moff Gideon used the Darksaber.
That's actually a great point. I hope they touch on that at some point, however they're going to do it.
Yeah, I think clearly he was just highly trained in how to use it, but
Well, that's a good point.
But
yeah.
you just have to like think about how easily he made it
Just
look
fluid.
Yeah, real fluid with it and stuff. And then we see this, and and Mando is struggling just to even pick it up. But
Which
anyway.
we can kind of skip forward just a hair to the next part of that, right? If you want to.
Yeah, whatever you. I mean, that's fine.
Well, I'm saying, basically, but just to go on that same thread, right? Later on, he meets up with the armor. That's what she's called. I can't remember.
The armor, yeah.
Armor.
Mm-hmm.
Armor, and the Taz Vizsla or whatever his name is. I don't know. It's not
Paz Vizsla.
Vizsla. Yeah. And anyway, but basically, they're the only.
For those of you who don't know, voiced by Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
He had to squeeze himself in there.
Well, and clearly, I mean, even the body is kind of
like him too.
It's supposed to be kind of like him. I don't know. I doubt it's really him.
Well, he's
but
pretty
I would
tall.
say they've set up the body to be the same, just in case they ever actually want to use him.
Yeah.
You know, his face. And stuff.
Yeah. So long story short, they're trying to stick to the Mandalorian ways, or like not even just Mandalorian, but the what are they called? There's a certain sect of Mandalorian. I can't remember. Long story short, they're trying to like stick to that, even though they're literally the only three left. And basically, but she's trying to train him how to use the Darksaber, and it's as you can see, he's clearly super heavy for him. Like it's difficult for him to even swing it, which it's so weird to me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm hoping to kind of explain that a little bit more. The dynamics of that and how someone who's something so small like Moff Gideon can swing it around with ease. I don't know. I hope they explain that a little bit more. I guess was what I was getting at.
Yeah, I don't know if they will though, too much, but
maybe not in this show.
But basically, the armorer says that he's like fighting against the sword or something,
not
right?
with it. Yeah.
Or I can't remember exactly.
He's
how
fighting
she
against the
words
sword,
it.
not against his opponent.
Yeah, and so, and we know that like. And I feel like Legends especially dealt with this, but like the handling of a lightsaber was always meant to be handled by Jedi.
Sure.
And it's supposed to feel awkward and unbalanced in the hands of anyone else.
Yeah.
And Legends really pushed that concept a lot.
Yeah.
Where I feel like in newer canon they don't as much. Like other people use lightsabers and it doesn't seem to be that hard for them to use it.
Yeah.
But I like that this is kind of more in that realm of like this was made for
like a Mandalorian
Tar
Jedi.
Vizsla. He was a Mandalorian Jedi.
Yeah.
He was probably very highly skilled in combat and in the Force.
Sure.
And so this weapon that he crafted for himself probably takes a lot of skill and honestly probably even some of the Force probably also helps in it to some degree.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing somebody who doesn't have the Force, or you could speculate maybe he does, but
at least not in the fashion a Jedi would, right?
Right.
At least in this context.
And he's not skilled on how to use it, and so we're seeing him struggle, and I think that that's actually really, really cool. And we both know he's going to end up being a boss with it.
Sure.
And so it's just cool to see though that there is going to take some training and some growth before we see that. So
we can move on with that, but let's I guess I did kind of skip over one thing to get on stay on that same topic, but also what we see right before that is that basically the armor is basically saying like the Beskar spear is kind of like heresy. Like Beskar's never meant to be a weapon because it could pierce other Beskar, which is basically you're saying Mandalorian versus Mandalorian. That's not supposed to be what it is. It's supposed to be for armor. So she's melting. He gives her the spear very willingly and just says, here, make some armor with it. And she's like, what do you want me to make? And basically it's like, I want you to make something for a friend of mine, or however exactly he says it. And clearly he's talking about Grogu.
Yes.
And so obviously at this point, she asks him what she wants him to make. And I can't remember how they got around this, but they never said what he's making. But what you do see for just a short flash of a moment is like these rings falling down. So to me, it almost like it's like a chainmail vest or something, but I don't know though. I guess we're not going to see that.
Yeah. So I will say, jumping forward, when he looks, he's sitting in the ship.
Oh,
the
public
ship,
transport.
yeah,
Thing.
and he's looking at it. It looks shaped in the head of Grogu, but now I at first I thought, oh, it's a little Mandalorian helmet.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
But now I'm not so sure about that for a couple of reasons. First, I don't think they'll want to hide Grogu's face.
Right.
Like that. Like I don't, because Grogu's face is the best part.
I mean, that's
right?
marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think you're probably right. It's probably some kind of like chainmail or something that Grogu can put over him.
So basically, like later on, when Kylo kills all the younglings in the temple, like he slashes him on the chest, and they think he's dead, but he actually was a Beskar.
Oh, so you're still
I don't know.
you're going down that rabbit hole.
I don't know.
Huh?
No, I don't know. Well, and you said shaped like his head.
But it is. I mean, it's clearly supposed to be tied up to look like it's shaped like him, to make him think about Grogu, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that whatever is in there is shaped like that.
Right. I think whatever was in it was just kind of like balled up, because the things that came off the side, I think it was just the handkerchief like just coming, like
right.
But yeah, when we looked down, it looked like a Yoda head, like a little Grogu head, you know.
Yeah.
So
little Grogu head.
Little Yoda head.
Little Yoda head.
Motorhead, Yoda head. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, definitely that was supposed to be reminiscent, but so anyway.
Yeah.
So
falling back, we get they have discussion about the Darksaber.
Mm-hmm.
And here they do say, the armor does say, hey, this Darksaber was gifted to Bo-Katan. We know it was gifted by Sabine in Rebels. And
cool
so,
little callback.
Very cool just to see how all that's connecting.
Yeah.
Right? It's crazy. But she says because it was gifted, it was doomed to fail, because that wasn't the way it was supposed to happen.
Mandalore fell.
And that's why Mandalore fails, because it was gifted.
And we got to see some sweet flashback.
So, first of all, one thing I do want to say about that is I don't necessarily agree with her. I think that's one perspective, and I think it's you have to remember that this group comes from the Death Watch, right? Like
exactly.
they're not necessarily the most good, I guess. They're not the best group. So, and they never were fans of what was her name? What was her sister's name? Bo-Katan's sister.
Oh, you could ask me this any day.
I can't remember her name. Anyway,
it's gonna bother me now. Hold on.
Anyways, one person, I liked how they put it. They said, well, they don't.
Satine Kryze.
Satine, yeah. They said they don't like the Death Watch, didn't like any of them, and the armor doesn't like them because they were all a bunch of Kenobi smoochers. So, but hey,
whatever. You can play them.
So, I think that was going to happen to Mandalore no matter what, probably.
Sure. Yeah.
But I do think it's interesting that they're blaming it on that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So, but then we see kind of a visual representation of the Night of 1,000 Tears.
Yeah.
Which is very cool, which happens right in that switch from the Republic to the Empire.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Great purge.
The armor does say they survived because they weren't on planet.
Yeah.
But that they were on Concordia, the moon Concordia. So we see that. We also see a bunch of K2SO droids, the Imperial droids there. We see a bunch of them walking through like the debris and fire and stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Visual that we get. Trying to think of what else. Oh, so something else I want to say. Moving past that, but still on that same location. We haven't talked about the location yet of where Mando is.
Yeah.
Mando is on a Halo
He's
ring.
literally on Zeta Halo over here, bro. Come on now.
So for those of you gamers, I'm sure everyone who's ever played any Halo game immediately thought he's on Halo.
Yeah.
I mean, it so clearly looks like that.
It's literally if the entire an entire Halo ring was New Mombasa.
yeah, right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly.
But it was super neat,
It was
and
really
I
cool.
like that Star Wars included that. It's just different for Star Wars,
very
right?
different,
Very different,
but makes
feel,
sense.
But makes sense,
Yeah,
exactly.
an artificial world,
Right, and so very, very cool. I mean, essentially, it was just like a huge space station, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so I really like that. I think it's called Glavis. Glavis. I think Glavis. As far as we
Larvis, I
know,
think.
so I hope we get more of that.
Oh, 100%,
and more of Star Wars because I think that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then we go to Tatooine. Basically,
wait,
sorry.
hold on. We were skipping some stuff here.
Sorry.
So another big thing, right, is that they're so Paz challenges Mando for the right. So no, here's the big thing though. Okay, that's cool and all. And Mando wins. I'm not even going to talk about the fight, which was a cool fight. But this was crazy. For the longest time, Paz's last name Vizsla was spelt different. For the longest time, we believed that he was not related to Pre Vizsla. But he does confirm in this episode that he is related to him, and that they are actually relation, and that he's basically saying that he deserved it because it was his family's and stuff, and basically like, well, no, it's went through combat. He's like, okay, then let's fight then. But that's really cool because he confirms that Paz is actually
he's
in
part
lineage.
of the lineage of.
So that's cool. And so yeah, and obviously Mando wins, but then we can go on. But that was just a pretty cool little revelation there to me.
Yeah, so they have the fight, and then basically Mando wins, and then the armor comes back, and the armor is like,
they start reciting their classic oaths again.
Right, and then the armor is like, "Have you taken off your helmet?" And Mando's just kind of like, he just stands there. He doesn't say anything.
You can't prove it.
And he never actually, or no, he did.
He
actually
eventually
say
says
it, but
it,
she has to ask like 3 times.
Yeah.
And then he finally says that he had, and she's like, "Well, you're done. You're no longer Mandalorian."
Like literally, just you're no longer Mandalorian. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and part of me wonders if the armor actually intentionally does it. So like, and what I mean by that is she's actually doing it for the good of the Mandalorian, because it seems just kind of weird, right? There's only 3 of them, and all of a sudden she wants
just
to just
so willing, just snap of a finger.
Yeah, I feel like maybe she knows the Mandalorian cannot just stay there with them, but has to go out and do what he needs to do, blah blah blah, to become what he needs to be. And I kind of wonder if the armor knows that, and that's why she does it.
And on top of that too, you got to think that the armor and Paz they're both like bloodline Mandalorians, but he's a foundling, so that also is that kind of wall of separation to some degree
and maybe
too.
she's just a jerk, and maybe maybe that's
maybe she's so dedicated to that sect of Mandalorians that like, I don't care if there's 3. If you broke the law, you're done.
Right, and maybe that is the case. But as we have learned, Mando has started to see that their strict code is not necessarily everything that it needs to be for him. Like he knows there's more, and it's just so great. The Mandalorian, we've already seen so much character growth in such a small time, and it's so cool to see where his character is going, and I just love his character.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess now is a time for me to go ahead and say this, but like, before we jump over to Tatooine, is like this character, this is the best episode of the series so far, of the Book of Boba Fett so far.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, this
is not even a Boba
doesn't
episode.
have Boba Fett in it. Now, it's saying something that the Mandalorian has already holds so much power to us.
Yeah.
That when we see him, it creates excitement, and we're invested in this character, right?
Yeah.
And it is just a great episode in general too, but like it also helps that we love this character, and we loved it. We want to know what happens next.
Yeah.
And so that's great. that's awesome. But it's also like, okay, but this is a series about Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna say, and just to interject slightly, I think there's other things that play into it. It's not just the fact that it's Mando versus Boba, but I think it's also the fact of how they made this episode, right? Basically this episode was incredibly gritty and sometimes like borderline brutal, which was awesome. But there was also, it didn't have a bunch of just boring talking all the time. And I'm not trying to be, degrade the episode or the season this far, because it's been good. But just think about it. I mean, it hasn't been a bunch of boring fights and boring talking and slow chase scenes. I mean, this is like crazy, like super brutal fighting, cutting a dude in half with the dark saber. I mean, there's even when it's talking, we're getting new lore like Paz Vizsla. We're getting crazy drops of like hearing about Grogu and or he's getting disowned by the Mandalorians, or I mean, it's even when there's talking, it's crazy stuff. When there's fighting, it's crazy stuff. When there's vehicle related things, it's usually crazy stuff. So I think again, it's him being Mandalorian versus Boba Fett. I think that does play a big part in that. We love Mando and we want to see more of him, and he commands our attention. But I do think again, another part that plays into it is the fact that this episode is just a genuinely better episode with more action, more story, more lore, etc.
Yeah, well, and also this is the first time that we're seeing anything off of Tatooine. And this whole time we've been on watching the series.
Sure.
This is the first time we're off Tatooine. It took 5 episodes.
Yeah.
And I think that with the Book of Boba Fett, I have continued to say, and I'm still saying, what is the purpose of the show? Where are we headed with this?
Yeah.
And so far, yes, we've seen why Boba Fett has become who he is.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the purpose of the show.
That's the whole thing.
But if it is, like, that's disappointing to me, because I didn't need a whole series about why he is now who he is.
Him just tying up.
I wanted one episode of that, and the rest to be, where does he go next?
Sure. Yeah.
And really, it's been more explaining. Most of it's been explaining why he is what he is now, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But you have to assume we're still headed to something. And we'll get into more of that once we get through the rest of the episode, because there's some big questions I still have.
Yeah.
And I'm also really curious what you guys think about some of this as well. But let's move on. So we go to Tatooine, and we get Amy Sedaris back with her group of droids. We get a special droid.
A very special
droid, a BD droid.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know what a BD droid is, it was introduced in the video game Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
We get BD1 in that. And this is another BD droid. We don't know exactly what number this BD droid is.
Sure.
Some speculate maybe it is BD1.
Yeah.
I don't know. It does not have the red markings that BD1 has, right?
But granted, the time is pretty far away. I mean,
it could have been worn off at this point.
Yeah.
There's nothing really to say either way that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
But I'm going to lean more towards this not being BD1.
And at the end of the day, if nothing else, it's just kind of a cool throwback Easter egg towards the game that just kind of ties it into the show too. Ties it into the overall route of Star Wars right now that we've seen. They're trying to tie stuff in,
Right. So then we basically, she's like, oh, she had told Mando that she has a ship for him. That's why he had came.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, where's the Razor Crest or whatever? And she's like, I don't have a Razor Crest. And he was like,
I'm walking out.
Yeah. He's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's like, oh, well, just hear me out. Come check this out, whatever. So she unveils an old N1
Republic.
Yeah, which is the N1 Starfighter, which was a Naboo Republic. Yeah. And you guys will know that primarily from episode 1.
Yes.
We see a lot of them in episode 1. We even see little Annie he gets N1 and
commits droidal genocide.
Droid genocide. Destroys the whole. Yeah. So anyway, that's the ship that and of course this one's mostly. The yellow's mostly gone at this point. There's some faded yellow in there, but really cool to see this Republic ship make its return. Cool. So that is really neat. You do have to wonder how long he'll have this. Some people think it's going to be permanent. I don't know, because, I mean, if he's going to still be a bounty hunter, where is he going to put his bounties?
Yeah,
that's my big question.
Yeah.
But she does make a little place to where
That's what I was
where
gonna say.
Grogu can hang out.
He's like, where did the droid pit go? He's
Yeah.
like, no, I knew you didn't want droids, so I placed it. And there's like a little bubble for him to be
Oh
up there.
yeah, it's Grogu's gonna be hanging out over there.
Let's go.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
But so they a big portion after that is them like fixing it up, which is it's got its comedic
Little
moments with the
montage,
droids and all that stuff.
Took a little long.
You know, you either like it, you either love it or you hate it when it comes to her and her droids, because it's always kind of like a little weird.
Yeah.
But like
either you enjoy that kind of humor or you really don't.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of lean more towards the don't.
Yeah,
but,
same here.
But anyway.
Yeah.
But then they get it going.
Oh, that was sweet.
And he just takes off in it. It's like incredibly fast.
Yeah.
And they go through Beggar's Canyon.
Yeah.
And again, just to give you guys some history on that, if you don't know, that is where the pod racing takes place.
Yeah, Phantom Menace.
In Phantom Menace, one of the most iconic, I would say, scenes in Star Wars is that pod racing scene. And then we have him driving this N1 starship through Beggar's Canyon.
So good.
So good.
So good.
Just only... I mean, it's beautiful. It really is.
So
like
many good things.
It's such Star Wars magic in moments like that. That can only happen through years and years of content,
watching it, enjoying it, absorbing it, and then like getting all those little
those little nostalgic moments that hit that only can hit because of the legacy of Star Wars.
Yeah, because how many people watched it, and that's what's so cool about a lot of the newer stuff that they're making. So people can watch that episode who's never watched Star Wars and be like, oh, that's really cool. He's racing through. But then for people who's been longtime loyal fans, like that's just one little thing. Like it's a cool scene, but we also get those little callbacks and there's like, oh, hey, I remember that. Or hey,
exactly.
Exactly.
So then he flies up out of the atmosphere into space. And we get some New Republic X-Wings come through. Again, incredible to see 2 X-Wings and that N1 Starfighter. Yeah. What a cool moment, again, because, again, you're mixing the old and the new together. Wow, just really cool. So, interesting. We have the one dude that we've seen every time as part of this group of New Republic Starfighters. I don't remember what his name is, but it's the bearded one. He's always been a part of that crew that comes and talks to Mando.
I think it's Davis. No, it's not.
But then we get a new one this time, and it's not Dave Filoni. In the past, it's been Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
This time it was Max Lloyd-Jones, who was the body double for Luke Skywalker in the season 2 finale of Mandalorian.
Oh, really?
That's who the other one is.
I didn't know
that's
that.
A
I
fun
didn't think that.
Little tidbit for you guys there. So that's pretty cool to have him, have a bigger role there.
Yeah.
Pretty neat. And something else that I don't know if you caught this or not, but in the Phantom Menace, young Anakin says something's wizard.
Yes, I did notice that.
So,
yeah.
So he says something about that in the Phantom Menace, and now whenever she asks him about it or whatever, Mando, and he gets out, he's like, wizard.
Dude, that was such a great callback.
Yeah, again, a really cool callback there.
Oh,
Pretty great.
So good. I mean, and again, it's just those little things that if you've been a long time fan, you're gonna catch that, and it's just gonna mean that much more to you. You know what I'm saying?
And then he goes back, and that's when we get Fennec Shan shows up, and Fennec's like, "Yo, got something for you to do. Come hang out with me and Boba."
Yeah. And
then. And this is where a lot of my questions come, and we're going to talk about this. I want your all of you listeners, I want your input on this as well. Please share your input, because this is where it gets interesting. He says that he has to go see Grogu first.
Yeah.
Before he helps.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's my big question. So that basically wraps up the episode. That's what we end on.
Right.
Here's my big question to you, Braxton, but also to our listeners.
Sure.
And that is, does the next episode of the Book of Boba Fett follow Mando again as he ventures to go see Grogu and even potentially Luke Skywalker.
See, and that is a great question.
Or, and I'm going to kind of lead it into the other direction I'm thinking, or does something happen? Actually, I'm going to give 3.
Whoa.
I have 3 different outcomes for this. This is what in my head, and then I want your perspective, and then hopefully we'll get other people's perspectives as well. Okay. So the first one I just said there, he does go, and it's an episode focused on him going and seeing Grogu and Luke Skywalker and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Second is that he's about to go and something happens, and so he doesn't go see Grogu. Mm-hmm. He has to just stay and help Boba and Fennec. Yeah. And then potentially maybe like at the very end of the last episode, we'll see like him go see Grogu.
Yeah.
Third is he does go see Grogu, but it's not on camera. He goes sees Grogu. We're back with Boba in this next episode, and then the last episode, Mando comes back and helps, but he's already done and seen Grogu.
So,
what's your take?
All valid options. I have a thought that I was already thinking. But I will say, like, kind of systematically break them down here. So first and foremost, the first one you talked about him, basically the next episode being about, just him straight up going to Grogu, and that's what we're going to see, and blah, blah, blah. So one thing that we do know that's going to play some sort of influence into this is that episode 6 or chapter 6 is going to be directed by Dave Filoni.
Yes.
So that
at least that's been the rumor, right?
Well, that's true. That's been the rumor. Yeah, because we don't completely know that for a fact, but it's probably a good possibility because he hasn't done anything as of
yet.
This
episode was directed by Bryce Howard. I don't know if we've actually said that yet.
Oh yeah, we haven't, and then that's what I was kind of like pretty much spoiled it for somebody else, but that's what I was saying. Like she directed an episode in Mandalorian 1, season 2, and this new Mandalorian episode,
the new Mandalorian episode 2.5, season 2.5.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's our assumption today. So if he is, it would make sense that we're going to see some more things tied to him, such as maybe like Grogu or, in the past it's been Ahsoka or something. But so here's the thing. But I find it highly unlikely, just my opinion, I find it highly unlikely that the first scenario is going to happen. That's just my opinion, because here's the thing, and this is why I look at it. This is the Book of Boba Fett. Thus far, right. And not to be mean, but it's been a slow show. And it's been about Boba and about his little, political stuff that's going on. And point I'm trying to make is that if we start dragging so much of the Mandalorian into the show, Grogu and Luke again and all this, it's just going to destabilize.
And it seems kind of crazy that we would have another episode focused on the Mandalorian, right?
Exactly.
Even though we love the Mandalorian.
Here's the thing, don't get me wrong. I think that first scenario would be amazing. It would be immaculate. But I'm just
when you look at the bigger picture of the Book of Boba Fett, it doesn't necessarily make sense, right?
Right.
And that's what I thought when I heard him go, well, I have to go see Grogu. And it ends that way. And I'm thinking, now how does that work in this story?
Yeah.
Because I don't see how that lines up with anything to do with what we know, what we've learned so far about where this series is going.
Sure.
So continue. Sorry, I kind of.
How dare you? No, I'm just kidding. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Basically, my thought is, I think the second scenario is that was my opinion. Basically, something's going to happen where he has to go see Grogu, but during the time there, or basically something so drastic happens that he has to stop to help Boba to kind of repay his debt. Not really, because they didn't have a debt, but you know what I'm saying. It's kind of like that favor, to repay that favor. Because as we see in the end of chapter 5, he refused payment. I mean, that's so against Mando, right? He refused payment. It's like it's on the house because he wants to go help Boba. Long story short, I think that's what's going to happen, is that we're not going to see him go see Grogu. He's going to get delayed, and he has to help Boba. And then ultimately, at the end, he's going to go leave to see Grogu. We might get a glimpse at the end, and that's what's going to lead to Mando Season 3.
Yeah, and we know the rumor has been that we would see a very quick glance at Grogu. Yeah. That's what the rumor has been for the series.
So that aligns.
Is that we would see a quick glimpse of Grogu, but it would not be like a big long
extended moment.
So and also here's another option, is maybe the very beginning of this next episode shows Boba leaving Grogu,
and that could be
it could be like you just see him for a minute as he's saying bye or something.
Exactly, could be.
And then it jumps into the rest of and
that would allude to him kind of like going back and forth and seeing him more often.
I think I think if it does, if they do not show it in the next episode, I think some people are going to be upset because the episode implies you're going to see Grogu.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you don't show Grogu in the next episode, I think some people are going to be really upset.
Sure.
I understand if they didn't do it, but why tease that if you're
Like
not
so
going
heavily.
to? That's my only thing. Why would you tease that and then not follow through?
I agree.
That would be my only thing about the way it ended. Really implies that they're going to show Grogu. So I guess we're just gonna have to wait, of course. But I really want your guys' opinions on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And since we're and we'll talk about this more in the coming weeks. But something else I can't help but think with this episode is, again, we got a Mando episode in between, which I think is actually brilliant because everybody
engaged.
wanted an update on Mando as well. We get an update.
Right.
So really, I'm not complaining. I don't think anyone's going to be complaining about it. But we don't know where this show or this series is headed, the purpose of it necessarily. But you have to imagine, by the time of the finale, there's still some kind of big bad we're unaware of, right?
I feel like, right? That's what I feel
there's
like.
some kind of big reveal waiting, right?
That gives some kind of brevity to the whole series.
Yeah, because so far, we've had the twins, but they kind of like said
Fizzled
we're out of it. And then we have
the biker gang, which
we have the biker gang, which he massacred, and pretty sure they weren't even the ones who actually did it. But we have the Pike Syndicate,
which is the current kind of
like, okay, fine, but like the who cares?
But what does that amount to? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but like, who cares? Like, I don't care about the Pike Syndicate.
Exactly.
They don't really mean much to me. I think it's bigger than that. And right now I have two theories.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna go ahead and say them now because I think within the next episode we might really start get an idea. But the last episode, of course, I think there's gonna be something. Either Kira, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one that I think would be really cool to see.
Yeah.
Or, and this would continue in my theory of where I think this whole Star Wars Disney Plus series is headed towards is something to do with Thrawn.
Sure. Yeah.
But how do you? Because I think for me the big thing is how do we connect Boba to the bigger story?
Right.
Right now we don't have that connection. But by the end of this, there has to be a connection for Boba and the purpose of Boba in this story. Mm-hmm. And right now, there's not one.
Sure. Yeah, so so my initial theory that I had mentioned a couple episodes ago, I believe it was that that first thing you said, right? I felt like they were alluding to the fact that the Crimson Dawn was the actual real threat and the Pike Syndicate was underneath them, and we're made to believe that the Pike Syndicate were the real threat, but it wasn't, and that ultimately we're going to see Kira. But here's the thing, and especially if we're only going to have one season of Book of Boba Fett, that wouldn't really make sense. Now, we have heard many rumors, and it alluded to the fact that there will be more than one season, so if that's the case, then okay, that could make sense. But here's what I'm getting at, is that if they are trying to tie this into potentially a new heir to the Empire, where we have, he just has his name, I can't think, Thrawn. Yeah. If that's the case, you'd almost think that you would if there's only one season of Boba, you'd have to see him at the end of the first season because that's what's going to tie all in, and then basically it's going to be the entire crime syndicate, the crime lord.
I don't know if we'll see him yet.
Well, and I'm not saying see him. I'm just saying we know he's out there. That's what I'm trying to get at. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Well, we already know he's out there.
But you see what I'm saying? I'm saying like tying to this show. That's what becomes the threat. That's what becomes the thing.
Exactly. No, I'm with you. I think something has to tie to him. Yeah. And the reason is the Mandalorian already did that. Yeah. With Ahsoka and Ahsoka being on that planet because Thrawn had set that up, right? All the horrible stuff that was going on there was basically because of Thrawn. Yeah. So we already know Thrawn's like doing some bad stuff. Yeah. What?
Well, I'll just finish what I was going to say on that part. Basically, here's Book of Boba Fett, right, as a timeline. If there's just one season, we're going to have to see something tie in to Thrawn at the end of this. If there's more than one season, I could personally see the story being that the big baddie is Kira, but then ultimately, as they resolve in the next season or the third season or whatever, that they ally together to come against Thrawn ultimately.
Yeah, and of course, guys, like this whole Thrawn thing is something that we've kind of just
theorized.
There's literally, I don't know if there's anything out there that's saying that this is where it's headed.
Sure.
We just know Thrawn is still out there. We know that that the Ahsoka series is going to deal with Thrawn and Ezra.
Yeah.
And I speculate that he's going to end up being the big enemy of this event series that eventually all of this is leading towards.
Yeah.
That's just, again, my theory. But we don't have anything to truly to say that that's the truth.
Yeah.
It could really go anywhere. But I do think that by the end of this, we kind of have to have more of an idea of where Boba, what his character serves in this story.
Yeah.
And if really it's only the Pikes and we're done.
Like, what is that? What is that?
It would be kind of upsetting. But again, I don't think that's the case. I think there is more to it.
I agree.
But
the fact that we have to wait, to the last 2 episodes to even feel like that foundation is coming, though, it's kind of a little stanky for me.
Yeah,
whatever.
I think no matter what happens in these next 2 episodes, the Book of Boba Fett is going to go down as it was okay. Like, I don't think it's ever going to stand up there with the Mandalorian.
Like, even if the last 2 episodes are insane.
Yeah, even if they are insane, I don't think it will. I think for some people it's already left a bad taste.
Sure.
And even to the point of, I've already talked to people like, have you watched the Book of Boba Fett yet? And they're like, oh, well, like, people are saying it's not any good.
I haven't really dove into it.
And it kind of bothers me because I'm like, whoa. I'm like, hold up.
Just because someone says
like,
something.
First of all, people are being kind of crazy when they're like, it's not any good.
Yeah.
This is still a good series, okay?
Yeah, it's still Star Wars.
It's Star Wars through and
Come
through,
on.
and I'm enjoying it.
Yes.
But no, it's not as like jump up to on your feet, scream and whoop and holler. Exciting moments like the Mandalorian, especially season 2 was.
Yeah, exactly.
But this episode really has got me excited.
Sure.
But it's got me excited because of all things Mandalorian.
Nothing about Boba.
Nothing about Boba.
Yeah.
So I think it's really next episode is really going to decide for me what this show, like, are they going to focus on Mando again? Because if so, then like I'm really like, okay, this is even they knew that Mando was the more important like person everybody wanted to know about. If they spend 2 episodes on him.
Yeah, exactly.
But if they go back to Boba Fett and they really start to progress the story and get to some exciting stuff, maybe I'll be a little more forgiving of it all in the end.
Hopefully that's the case.
Yeah.
So overall, there is, overall, and that's one last thing we want to preface. If there's any, if for our all seasoned veteran listeners here, you already know what I'm about to say. But for any newer listeners that may be coming on that's joined recently, know that we are huge Star Wars fans. We love everything that's Star Wars. And we may sound really critical, but that's because we're handpicking all the small things. Just know, we like this. This is Star Wars. This is Boba Fett. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
We clearly like this, but we sound critical because we're in the minutia. We're trying to pick things to point out.
Right, because we have a Star Wars podcast, right?
Exactly. It's not just like, oh, I like it because I'm a Star Wars fan.
And,
you know what I'm saying?
And we are purposely diving in deep.
Right.
And critiquing little things that really don't even necessarily matter. But like that's what we're here to do.
Exactly.
Is to really dive deep into these things and over talk it and over discuss it. Like that's
definitely over discuss it.
Yeah. But that's kind of what the whole point of it is. Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to say that because for any new listeners, like, oh my gosh, these guys are just so oh man, do they like anything? Oh, we absolutely love it. We just try to find the things to discuss that may not be as obvious to other people. Anyway. So with that being said,
we don't love Jar Jar Binks.
But we don't love Jar Jar.
You hear that, Alex?
Yo.
Our Patreon producer, Alex Mason.
He's trying to get us to do Jar Jar stuff. And we're like, just no, we can't do it.
Like, bro, you're gonna have to pay me $50 an hour if you want to.
That's your limit, $15 an hour. I'll remember that. So anyway, before we take too much longer, we just want to thank everybody so much for the continued support towards our podcast and Jedi Eternal as a whole, because we're moving into new and better and greater things. We're sticking with the podcast, obviously, because that's our mainstay, but we're doing a whole lot more. We're doing stuff on Patreon. We're doing live streams. We're doing Let's Plays and gameplays. I mean, we're doing so much. And the thing is, we're excited to do it, and we look forward to hearing from you guys.
Yes.
We want to hear from you. Seriously. It's not just, I understand if you don't want to, but if you've been on the borderline of like, oh, I'd love to be the next JB or Alex Smith, I'd love to be a new top fan, I would love to interact with these guys, you absolutely can. And not only can you, we want you to.
You don't have to know every single thing about Star Wars.
Not at all.
You can know very little about Star Wars, and we would still love to communicate with you and inform you on things that maybe
help you learn
want.
more.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
And also, we need more Patreon producers. So
if you want to see us grow,
no, seriously, we need more. And I know some of you out there listen to us. I know you got money. I know you got money in those jeans. So pull out them greens.
Little pockets got the money. Okay, we're going off rails. I'm trying to do the outro here.
Sorry.
Give us money. Anyway, we're thankful for you guys. Thankful for joining us for 2 years now, and we want to hear from you. Please, if you've not reached out to us, let us hear your voice. Just say hi. That's all we want. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, especially Facebook and Instagram. We're going to have weekly news, polls, memes, discussions, and all that good stuff. Sometimes it's a little heavier some weeks, sometimes it's a little lighter, but there will be stuff out there as there has been. We also ask that if you could, please follow us and subscribe to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you would be so kind, please leave us a review. That always helps. We love to hear that. And very encouraging to us, but it also helps us on our ratings and getting sponsorships and anything like that in the future. But overall, we thank you so much for listening, and we would ask so humbly that you would join us next week for episode 72. And for our Patreon subscribers, please keep your eyes and ears open for the first official episode that should be coming up pretty soon of And Other Stuff, which is our Patreon exclusive series.
Yes.
But last but not least, may the Force be with you, and we thank you for joining the Jedi Eternal.
Bye.